All right. Well, welcome to the Mindfully Gay podcast. I am Jerry,
And I am John.
and I believe this episode is going to air like the same weekend as Pride here in Utah.
Yeah.
And so,
So happy Pride.
what should we talk about?
Happy Pride, Jerry.
And I know last year we did a Pride section.
We did, yeah.
And so we thought, let's resurrect that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see if we can take a different twist to it. And so John came up with all these great ideas.
Yeah. And the first one, I must point out, I'm wearing, if you're watching this, I'm wearing my iconic John Queer shirt, a little play on words, the John Deere, tractor company and all of that. So I'm wearing my John Queer t-shirt today for Pride.
And the little deer has a purse.
Yeah, the little deer is holding a purse. So happy Pride.
So I don't know about you, but I look forward to Pride festivals. And they're all kind of created differently, but I just enjoy the energy of Pride. I remember coming out, it was almost like it was like a weekend of paradise. Like I could be around my gay and lesbian brothers and sisters and our eclectic queer community. And I enjoy the party. I enjoy the fun.
Right.
Everyone kind of shows up in some really great goodwill. And then through the years, it's certainly changed. I think here in Salt Lake City, it's kind of like the premier event.
Yeah, it really is.
You can't count on everyone being queer at Pride because it invites so many people from different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's still fun. I miss the gay days.
Yeah, I do remember it just being such a celebration and just anticipating it. Pride's coming, and going to the parade and going to the festival and just being with your friends and just living it up and putting on all your gay gear that you don't get to wear, in normal circumstances, and it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
And I believe, isn't the Utah Pride like one of the biggest? Well, it's one of the biggest in Utah for sure. Celebrations and parade and everything. Right. And I don't know what it is ranked across the nation, but we have a pretty big celebration. And you're right. Over the years, it has. I think even in other metropolitan cities, it really was, I think, it was really for our community. It was for the gays and lesbians, right?
Yeah. And
it has really opened up. We're seeing, it's kind of family friendly. I mean,
yeah.
Right? We're seeing all folks show up. And I'm seeing that as, maybe an allyship kind of circumstance where the people who are on our side and will stand up for us are showing up to the parades too, and celebrating and going to the festival and even marching in the parade and all of that.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, my heartache around Pride is it's become this very corporate centric event.
Yeah.
Where I feel like I'm walking through a mall sometimes versus finding out what's happening in the community. And, when we had Chad from the Pride Center here, he talked about how under the current political stress, a lot of those corporate donors are falling away. And
True.
So I'm kind of hoping it takes us back to grassroots.
Yeah. It might this year, actually.
Yeah.
Because of that. Interesting.
But I think what we wanted to talk about today, and the question we want to ask our viewers is, I think when we think about Pride, we think about an event, we think about a party, and the reflection of that is, I think, a lot of interesting extremes, lots of different variations of our community being visible from just, drag queens and leather and et cetera.
Yeah.
Right. And I do think those are reflections of Pride, but I think what I would like to ask, and I think what we would like to talk about is, what does Pride mean to us as individuals? it has a communal attitude,
Mhm,
right?
yeah.
And we've created a festival around it. And yet, I would also hope, and I hope what we talk about today is around this, is what are the personal implications of pride, especially in a climate when there's so much angst and political pressure put on us as queer folks right now?
Right.
Like, what does it mean?
Yeah, I'm seeing this as the question I'm hearing from that is, how do we extend our pride? If pride is, we see pride as kind of this event and weekend, and the month of June usually kind of celebrates, our gay diversity. But what happens after that? Like, does your pride continue after pride?
Well, we do get the whole month. Right. So what? I think there's two pieces to what we're talking about. Is what does pride look like,
Mm-hmm.
and then how do we own it, or
Mm.
maybe how might we ritualize or make it an initiation, if you will. Yeah, and I'll just kind of fall back on my own kind of shamanic background.
Yeah.
In many, many traditions, there is a process of initiation. If I am a 13-year-old stepping into my manhood, there will be some kind of an initiation. Same thing for women who start their moon time. There is a ceremony of initiation. If I become a parent, when I become an elder, right? That there are these moments of initiation. And sometimes in my office, I reframe initiation as through trials and tribulations, because most initiations done in indigenous societies, these are not lighthearted events. They're serious. Sometimes they can be very profound, very deep, very strenuous. But when you come through the trial, you're now in a new state of existence. And the community and everyone looks at that and says, okay, we now recognize you as the elder. We recognize you as the warrior or the man or the woman that you're becoming.
Right.
And so I often think, how might pride serve us ritualistically? Like, what could we do that would be a communal reflection of you've arrived?
Yeah. It almost seems like the Pride Festival and parade and all of that is the end point.
Yeah.
Is the celebration, is the party, is the community coming together to celebrate you, who you are, and all of what we are and who we are. But how are we getting there? Like,
Right.
What's the process and those milestones that we're crossing to kind of get to that point? Because I think that's what we're really missing. Things like coming out. We've talked about this before. Like, coming out is a pretty, significant time in someone's life that didn't just happen overnight, right? It was certainly a process even just to get to that point, just to recognize and to articulate, I'm gay, I'm bi, I'm lesbian. And are we ritualizing that and celebrating that? And that's one of the things we tried to do last year at one of our retreats, even just to kind of have a celebration of
Coming into
yourself, coming into yourself as who you are. But it's and there's probably some other milestones that we're missing, that we're not highlighting, that are those same kind of trials that are hard, that are profound, etc. That we then lift up that person who's going through that trial, and then we get to the ultimate celebration. Pride.
All this for a party? When as you were talking, I was thinking, I know people who it seems like coming into can become a very insulated experience, right? it isn't, I don't think many people make their career connections until after they've come out,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe they've reached out to a resource like a therapist or the Pride Center or something like that. But in many cases, um, I'm just pausing to maybe take an inventory of what I'm getting ready to say. But I think many people are coming out in isolation because part of coming out, one of the questions is, who's my community?
Right.
Who, especially if I'm leaving like religious dogma. And if that dogma comes with a church or a congregation or a ward, and that's my community, and then I lose all that, or I give all that up to step into this new existence, then the next question is, well, where do I belong?
Yeah.
And that's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think those of us who are actively gay and participating in the community, we kind of know where the resources are or where to find it. But I think when you're coming from one lived experience trying to step into another, all you have is the back noise of the stereotypes.
Yeah, and I think you're right. A lot of that is in a kind of an isolated form, unless you maybe have told a person that you trust. It might be a friend, it could be like you said, a therapist or something like that. But yeah, it's kind of maybe not for all, but I'm just envisioning even just my process. It was kind of a lonely process.
Yeah.
Until I came out and then kind of redefining and then finding my community.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to start with that. I want to start with the question of what is pride independent of the festival?
Mm-hmm.
And so let that percolate for a minute.
Yeah.
I think one of the things when we've been consulting with the Oracle. Okay, it's AI. But AI brought up this interesting point. How did they put it? Let's see. Who am I beyond being a gay man? And both of us cringed.
We both kind of moaned at that question. So read that again, because it's interesting.
Who am I beyond being a gay man? And here's my take on that, and then you can, because I think you gave a great example. For instance, my spirituality, right? My partner and I have spent all of our relationship the last 30 years spending time with indigenous societies and communities and learning the medicine gifts that they've offered to us.
Right.
And when people kind of hear this story and kind of who we are, it's like, oh, well, that's an interesting part of your life. And I always take offense to that because I think my spirituality isn't something I do at a sweat lodge or on Sundays. How I do my spirituality, it is my life.
It is your life.
It's not a part of my life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I frequently will hear gay men say, well, gay is just part of who I am. And that makes my stomach hurt.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I believe people are saying those things with good intention.
Yeah.
But not realizing kind of the depth of what they're really saying. In a way, they're compartmentalizing me, by saying that. But that's, of course, that they're not thinking that, because I've gotten that too, just with the color of my skin. Especially with people I've known for a long time. They know John, they know me, and so they may say, oh, well, I don't see color, John. I'm colorblind. I see you. I don't see color. It's like, well, I am brown. I am an African American man. I identify as Black. This is who I am. I don't know anything different. So hopefully you're not seeing beyond it, because in a way I feel I'll feel minimized if you don't see this and realize what this means.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way with being gay. And I mean, I think it took some time because I was born African American. That's just who that's part of my essence. And then I think I had to really how do I say, embrace this other essence of self, which is being being a gay man, and in learning over time how to embrace it.
Yeah.
And it really is a part of who I am. And so to ask that question, who am I beyond being a gay man? Nothing.
Well,
Or I wouldn't exist. I mean, I don't know how to, I don't know how to answer that.
I've never gone to a straight person and said, "Oh, your heterosexuality is just something you do." Right? Like,
On the weekends.
your heterosexuality determines how and who you fall in love with, how you build your life, how you build your family, the lens in how you see the world. Your privilege may have you blind to all of that, right? But heterosexuality is the lens and the perspective and the experience that one has. And because society is built up around heteronormative concepts, we just kind of accept that.
Yeah.
And I think, I remember many, many years ago when I first started speaking to gay groups, I would talk about gay culture. And a lot of people in my audience have said, "We don't have a culture." And I'm like, wow, that's interesting because we have our own language.
Yep.
Are you family? Are you friends of Dorothy?
You're right.
Queen, girl.
Girl.
So we have our own language. We've talked about this on the podcast. If we were having a social here and it was all gay men, our interactive styles would shift dramatically if you introduced someone straight into the environment.
Yeah, so different.
And it just happens. So this idea of queer culture used to be quite offensive. Now I think people get it and it's much more accepted. But it's interesting how I think in many ways throughout life, our gay identity was looking for permission from the heterosexual world or the heteronormative ideas. Or at least we were in comparison to.
Yes, I think that's it. That's it. And I think that's what kind of formed gay identity. But I'm liking, like, going back to the Oracle, I like their interpretation or another way of describing us, which was, is this, what's your gay identity and what's your gay essence?
How distinguish the two in your mind?
In my mind,
identity versus essence.
Identity what's popping into my head just randomly here, labels, and just what's seen from the outside, how someone else might label me or just see me, and see me from the externally, and what I do and maybe what I say to them. Where essence is something certainly much deeper, comes from, you kind of said this, just how I move in the world, how I see the world, how I treat others. It's more from my inside, my perspective of self and all things, rather than someone or something else's perspective.
I had a moment there. Oh, I know what it was. When you were talking, what I flashed on was, maybe essence is like there's gay identity, right? How we dress, how we show up, how we banter, how we engage.
Yeah.
Essence to me is an invitation to find purpose, to find meaning, to find value, to encompass that. And I think with Mindfully Gay, where we're being really conscious is, yeah, it's physical. It's like how we relate to our bodies, what we do with our bodies. Mind, I think is, okay, how do we calibrate our thinking around, and then there's spirit. And to me, the broader sense of spirituality is an invitation to look for purpose and meaning.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, I thought, maybe that's the distinguishing.
I like that. Because when with going back, identity, it's like you said, it might be clothing, how you speak. It's kind of external. It's just the outer parts.
Yeah.
It's the outer parts where essence is the internals. I call it the intangibles, the
Yeah.
stuff we really can't touch, and it's that voice and that part of self which really speaks to how you might dress. But I like, just to add on to that, it's your purpose, and I like to add why you're here.
Yeah.
Why are you here in this human form, in this space, as this individual having this human experience?
Yeah.
Why are you here?
It's not by coincidence.
It's not by
I'll
coincidence.
just say that.
Yeah.
Melodoma, who was one of our teachers, a shaman from Northwest Africa, Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
His people, the Dagra people, when someone's pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
so if you were pregnant, the shamans go, "What the fuck's going on? How did that happen?" When someone's pregnant, they will actually engage in practices of divination, right, where they're consulting with the ancestors. And the question is, why? What gift is this person bringing to the tribe?
Wow.
What is the medicine? What is the gift that they're bringing?
Mm-hmm.
And often their name is a reflection of that. So the name Melodoma is friends with the strangers.
Wow.
Or friends with strangers or enemies, something like that. And that became kind of the vehicle of his life to talk about the Dagra traditions with people outside of his community, right? But what happens when we divine or ask the ancestors about, well, what is John's purpose as a gay man?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that he's bringing to humanity? What is Jerry bringing to humanity? What's the gift of the lens and how we see the world, right? And we've talked about this. A lot of indigenous societies look at what we would call queer, and those people became specialized or gifted in holding parts of the society together around their rituals and practices. So how do we answer that question? Like, how does John Cottrell answer that question about, why am I here as a gay man? Why can't I be like some straight butch guy?
I think it's, for me, it's kind of reflected with, it's just been this journey for me. And you've been along this journey with me, like our trips to Peru and my envisioning of this business and yoga and all of that. And that's where my vision, I think, really kind of expanded and really found my purpose. My purpose was to show up, to show people through my walk through life that it's okay to be still and silent. It's okay to be introspective. It's okay to go inside and see the valuable parts of yourself. But you can only do that by being quiet and still. And that's how yoga is part of my life. And I get to work with, and I enjoy showing this part not only to my community of yogis, but also the gay men that I work with, especially those who are maybe struggling with sexuality or just trying to discover, like, well, who am I? And a lot of the gentlemen that I work with have been in heterosexual marriages, have kids, and now they're discovering this new part of self and not sure how to navigate that. But they're finding respite in my meditation classes and just being with other men, being slow and careful and intimate in a very respectful and loving way, like, well, because that's who you are on the inside. And I'm hoping, I hope that I'm peeling away all the layers of identity. Like with these guys, they had an identity of married straight man. Now they're not that anymore, right? Peeling away those layers to get to who they are, so they can live to their highest potential. And that's what embody means to me.
Yeah.
To embody the essence of who they really are.
Remind me, when we were talking about clanship through Melodoma, what did you end up being? Fire?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No. Over breakfast the other day?
Yeah.
It was not mineral. Was I earth? No, I can't remember.
Fire was ancestors.
I'm a 9. Remember what 9 is? Oh gosh.
Are you mineral?
Maybe it was mineral. Maybe it was mineral.
Because
It was mineral.
Yeah.
It was mineral.
Because again, we're talking about this the Nagra people. Everyone's born into a clan based on the final number of their birth year. And so, yeah, maybe you were mineral.
It's mineral. Mm-hmm.
I'm mineral too, which is indicative of like our inclination is how do we build community? How do we engage people in community? How do we foster that?
Yeah.
That's part of it, not all of it.
Right. And I think you and I both have very unique ways of doing that, through, I work through kind of this yogic lens and that perspective and some Hinduism and Tantra and things like that, and as a way to build community and grow a brotherhood of individuals. And you have this shamanic, indigenous pathway that you've led. Yet we bond because I feel like we're doing the same kind of work to the same end, just different paths on getting there.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Sometimes in Lodge is a Native American ritual, but because I've worked in South American traditions, African traditions, etc., excuse me, I will bring in songs from those different places. And it's always met with kind of like a little criticism. But what I always say is, Spirit has many languages. Spirit has many approaches. I have been in a Mormon sacrament meeting and have felt the influence of Spirit, because it's not just indicative to a tradition or a dogma, right? It's the power of the message.
Yeah.
And does it align itself with kind of universal truths, if you will? And so that can happen. It doesn't happen in your yoga class when you're holding a pose for 4 minutes, but God.
You need to hold it a little longer there, Jerry.
When you were talking about stillness last week when I was in your class, I'm like, fuck this stillness. Could we just move?
You need to work a little harder there, Jerry.
Yeah, this idea, you see, for me, when I think about like what is the gift or medicine or purpose, I think it's very much in alignment, and maybe because we were thinking more on a communal level, but to me, pride means tapping into our intimate, personal magic. And that magic can happen intimately and sexually. It can happen emotionally. It can happen spiritually, right? But I often, as I observe and watch gay men in particular, I'm sure that I'm just in reference to Mindfully Gay, whether they're connected to tradition or ritual or ceremony or not, I see gay men showing up as bridge builders, as healers, right? Like how many of us have friends who contact us because they just need to talk, or I can trust your opinion, or I know that you're going to offer something. Even it's like, girl, change that hair, right?
Right.
I mean, there tends to be an honesty that people can depend on with us. Bruce and I frequently, it's interesting how many straight men in our community want to engage us at that layer of insight and perspective, which, my holdback from the 80s and 90s is straight men want nothing to do with us. And yet I think it's interesting. I see them reaching out, almost wanting to share in something that they experience through us.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and-
I see that, just to interrupt, I see that as like they see a wholeness within us, within you, that they wish they had. And so I think that's why they're drawn to you. You know, it's
Yeah.
like I want some of that essence. I want some of that light that you seem to shine. I want to be a part of that
Yeah.
or have that feeling.
I was talking to this guy, I think it was yesterday, who's turning 40 something, straight guy,
Mm-hmm.
and was talking about kind of facing some existential challenges. Like, I'm in my 40s. Who am I? How do I show up in the world? Mortality is just around the corner. Like, fuck you. But in chatting with him, I said, you know, what's interesting is if I'm heterosexual, in many cases, because the heteronormative concept supports my identity, I don't ever have to question it. And going back to what is the gift of being gay is whether you're gay, transgender, bisexual, lesbian, whether you're 12 or 42 or whatever age you're at, when you come out of the closet, it's a process of self-examination. Will you still love me if you know that I'm gay?
Mm-hmm.
Will you support me?
Mm-hmm.
How will my community, what will the neighbors think? Right? That contemplative process is about opening a process of consciousness and consideration about how I show up in the world.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of us go into the different stages of life having been primed in ways that maybe straight guys have not.
Have not. I get that. Something, what I envision as you were talking is something like something breaks free or opens up and it creates this expansion within you
Yeah.
because of that introspection in your coming out process. You see things very differently and you may approach things very differently. So something is unlocked, unleashed, and opened up within you and becomes a part of you. And as you continue to step through life. And I think straight guys, as an example, might envy that or want that. One of the things that I say in my meditation classes with my gay men, not everyone, I say gay men, but they don't all identify as gay. I'm just going to use that term for now. But my process is to take you on a little journey to investigate and just ask the question: are you more than just a physical, emotional, and analytical being? Because I believe that there's more, that you are a spiritual and magical being.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get to know that about yourself, you'll certainly see yourself in a very different way. And if you can embrace that entirely and take pride in that, then you start to see others in the same way. That's the concept of Tantra. It's a very personal, introspective exercise at first because you have to really know yourself and beyond this physicality of self, that you're more than just this.
Mm-hmm.
And you would interject the question of, why are you here? What's your purpose?
Yeah.
And because you have that ability to introspect, you might be able to find out and figure out what that is. Oh, I know why I'm here. I'm to be that healer. I'm to be that teacher. I'm to be that caregiver, whatever it is. And once you see that in yourself, then you're going to see that same essence in others and celebrate them as well, just as you take pride in celebrating yourself.
Yeah. Maybe we've answered this question, but it said, is pride something I perform or something I embody?
We've touched on it a little bit because I think, we see pride as, I see it as the end point.
Uh-huh.
It is a celebration and it is an event.
But maybe a way to ask that question is, if I'm fully embodying my sense of pride as a gay man, what would be the evidence? Like, what would I see in an individual that would suggest they really fully embrace their place in the world and how they're showing up?
Mm-hmm.
Grinder profiles. No. There's somebody that's embodying it.
They're embodied.
What does it? Yeah, like the evidence of embodiment, of feeling good and like the cliche is we have the clubs where there's drinking and drugs. There's a lot of other stuff that happens there. There are the sex sites, which are fun. I enjoy them, right? But that's such an abbreviated snapshot.
Yeah, and and I'm going back to that word compartmentalized. It's like those are pieces.
Yeah.
But can you show up as all those things in all places? Can you be all of that wherever you go?
Yeah.
I mean, truly be authentic. That it's not like you're having sex at the grocery store. No, but you have that energy of your sexuality that's just part of who you are, that's confidently walking into the grocery store.
Yeah.
I mean, you just show up as you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, I guess if I was seeing someone, I would see someone that looked confident, that looked proud, that, shoulders rolled back, chest lifted, and eyes bright, and that kind of thing, and not, cowering or something, to use a descriptive to see the opposite, not cowering, not scared, but can speak up, and they're confident, all of those things. But can you be all of those things in all places?
Yeah. I sometimes think, maybe I'll give an example of what I think is not embodiment, and then maybe the opposite would be true.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. In fact, I was chatting with someone yesterday who, I hate dating. I hate gay men. This is so frustrating. Like the dilemma of being single and not finding a partner became an issue of gay sex.
Oh.
Right? Or highly critical. Or sometimes you do see it in the profiles of no this, no that, no femmes, no chubs, right?
Right.
Like if I'm having to use some platform to put others in their place so that I feel like I'm excelling, to me that doesn't feel like embodiment. That feels like high school.
It feels like high school.
And so to me, when I experience someone who feels like their embodiment is that embodiment leaves space and room for understanding, empathy, inclusivity within our community.
Yes.
We treat each other with kindness and with respect, whether it's on Grindr or at a Pride event.
Yes.
Right? That sense of embodiment doesn't empower me to try to insulate and isolate someone because there's some otherness.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. I like that.
Yeah, and so I think when I experience embodiment, that's what I look for is and I think there are times when I'm really greatly embodied, and I think there's times when I'm not so much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a destination that we all kind of camp at. I think we grow and morph and adapt to it.
Yeah. And I see it as, I'm using these words of like vibration and frequency and just kind of energetics. If you know the truth about yourself, like I am proud of who I am, and I feel like I am an authentic being, and I want to do my best to be kind and courteous and compassionate to others and be inclusive. And you can be very energized and have a kind of a higher vibration around that, a higher frequency around that, where it comes a little bit more easily and maybe more freely. But there's just going to be times, because we're human, where that's going to feel a little dulled or it's not as energetic. Not to say that is gone, that you've now become this, a person that's not compassionate. It's just a little dull at the moment. And if you have ways, and you do have ways to, it's like, oh, I'm noticing I'm kind of heavy in my body right now. How do I feel light again? How do I feel that that sense of true self? You have your own rituals and practices that you do, I know, and I know I do too, to kind of give myself that boost to kind of reclaim that those energetics. I try to teach that in like meditation, just with breath work and moving energy and trying to get people just to understand a new perspective on how you can shift your mood and in view of self. Again, going back to if you can accept yourself as this higher being, you are going to be automatically, wherever you go, kind and courteous and compassionate and inclusive.
Yeah.
Just that's because that's just who you are.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of want to move in because I want to make sure we talk about this a little bit, right? Because it talked about ritualizing pride,
Yeah.
right? And maybe this is something we can plan for in the future, but it talked about turning our episode into a ceremony versus a discussion.
Yeah.
Which I think is possible, but one of the things that they talk about is an invitation to release internalized shame. And I guess that's an issue that comes up frequently, like in therapy and what have you.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, as I'm reading this, I'm just thinking, well, what is the shame about? And what would it look like to be released from it? And I think sometimes this idea of shame and guilt about being gay comes up frequently.
Yeah.
And I think in Utah, there's some understanding about that. Like, I'm working with a couple of clients who were socialized and raised in very rigid, conservative, religious ideas. And as they're kind of stepping into accepting their gayness, there's this battle of I'm abandoning or I'm somehow against everything I was.
Oh, I see.
Right? But I'm just kind of wondering, I mean, I think that's one example, but I'm just wondering what are the sources of shame?
I'm thinking energetics, it's one of those heavier emotions. It's low vibrational. And shame, we've talked about this in many episodes back, that it's layered. There's many, shame isn't just one thing. It's a bucket full of things. It might be guilt, anger, sadness, pain, physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, all just kind of lumped into one thing that we call shame. So I don't think it's certainly just not one thing, but something that can and does for people sit pretty heavy because it's so many layers. Whether it's from a childhood experience, whether it's religious or whatnot, or being bullied at school or being teased or something, these imprinted events that may have happened in one's life become their truth in the way that they now see the world. And I think, part of breaking that spell, as we've talked about before, is challenging that narrative. Is that really true? Is that really true about yourself? And going through I'm just thinking about that ritual, like you talk about in some indigenous cultures, sometimes the ritual isn't light and feathery. It's deep and hard, knowing that you went through a trial of sorts to get to the other side, to experience. And I would even say, you might agree, that you're not leaving necessarily that old stuff behind. It's remembering part of that as a way to walk through the fire or break through the shell of who your true being is. So I'm thinking, when working through shame, you gotta do some hard stuff. to get to the essence of it in order for you to break free.
Right. I hear what you're saying. And like when I think of shame or guilt, those are emotional responses, right?
Yeah.
It's an experience. But what always precludes the emotional outcome is the mind that is sitting on a particular messaging, right? I'm violating God's laws. Lead me to feel guilt. Mom and dad are disappointed. Guilt, right? And what I've experienced is it's very easy to get to those core stories. What I've noticed, not with myself, sarcasm, that those old stories tend to be really like it's hard for people to let it go.
Yeah, that's it. Like you said, it's
even if it's not working.
Yeah, it's easy to get to the core. We certainly know how to do that because of our careers, but we can get to the core pretty easily and even get people to understand what their core issues are. But yeah, but then to move them out of that is the trudging.
Right. Like and I'm asking, even though I'm a therapist, I'm asking legitimately. Maybe I'm doing supervision on myself here, but people get locked into these stories, get deeply committed to them. And even though the alternatives are inviting, titillating, exciting, right? We will default to how we were socialized to think about ourselves. And I have to wonder why that's such a challenge.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a lot on the podcast several years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, right? I kind of went on this fitness and nutrition journey.
Right.
And where I had gotten stuck for years was, well, I'm beyond my prime. I'm beyond that age. And this is what this age looks like. And I think it was just through a series of repetition because I was working with Nick, who was training and coaching me. And every time I would I'd say, are you sure I should be doing this at my age? And he just wouldn't settle for that.
Exactly.
Now what I noticed after a while is I stopped asking that question because I kept proving myself wrong. And it started to cause me to consider, like, what are the narratives about aging? And have I just blindly accepted them as a truth? And what I'm finding at this point in my life, I feel like I'm redefining that experience.
Right.
But it has followed a lot of angst, fear, apprehension. Like I had to really deeply reconsider the story and the evidence of having, now as I accomplish these things, I'm just like, yeah, fuck the age thing.
Yeah. Some components that I'm hearing from your journey with that is that, you had this narrative that was very personal and you just kind of went along with it for some time until there was, here's a catalyst, here's an interrupt, Nick walks in and
doesn't buy it.
And so challenges your narrative. And you even challenged it by asking the question, should I be doing this at my age?
You trying to kill me?
And he would counter that, right? And so I think there was that piece, an interrupt, who was telling you, no, that narrative is not true. And there was a discipline and a consistency. You kept coming back to it. Because I think people may start a diet, as an example, and have one mishap or failure, or whatever you want to call it, and never go back to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You know, and
See?
see, prove my point, right? Rather than keep challenging it. And having these interrupts, you could certainly be your own interrupt, but I think others might need to be that as well.
Well, we talked about this a couple episodes ago about rebranding.
Yeah.
And bringing it back to the gay coming out pride question is, we have the societal narrative. We have to kind of confront that and change that. Unfortunately, I think what people do is they turn their attention away from like a religion. It's like, well, what does the gay community want from me? And so they start falling into gay cliches. And I think the gift of this initiation, I think maybe a source of pride is, am I willing to engineer my existence in a way that feels compatible with my spirit, with the essence of who I am?
Yes.
Given permission for all these parts to develop. And so I think one way to get there is, in the absence of shame, what would I have instead? I think for me, in the absence of shame, I would find radical self-acceptance.
Yeah, for sure.
In the absence of guilt, I would find true joy. I like to think, I tell people, I feel like I'm like the Indiana Jones of my life.
Yeah.
Right? Indiana Jones was an adventurer who took on new challenges. And I like the idea that we get to pioneer our essence. And I love you as a gay man, but there are things that you embrace as being gay that may not work for me. I can't do drag. No. I could give it a chance.
With some right contouring.
But I'm just kind of being facetious, right? But I'm just like, what happens? What would society look like if all of us, gay, straight, male, female, trans, whatever, could just explicitly celebrate our essence? And I think what's interesting right now is politically, we're spending so much time otherizing. Like,
oh my gosh,
everyone else's narrative is bad.
Right? Yeah.
But I used to have this bumper sticker that said "Celebrate Diversity."
I remember that.
I love that idea. Like, I want to see you as a black man, as a black gay yogi. I want to celebrate people who do porn, people who watch porn, and even people who don't like it.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to celebrate how we show up in the world. And I want us to amplify our voices, because I genuinely believe that the key to society and humanity healing comes through a gay narrative. I believe that. There is something that is so intimately beautiful when I see portraits of women together, men together, in sensual, sexual. There's something very beautiful and poetic around that.
Yeah.
And then I know how we engage with each other. And I just think, if straight men could celebrate their connectedness with other men,
oh my gosh,
and women, regardless of sexual orientation, right? And I think we are the stewards of that medicine.
Yeah, we are.
I think sometimes we're predatory with it, maybe because we don't really fully understand the medicine and magic attached to that.
Yeah.
But I think through these conversations,
right,
if we could celebrate our diversity, I think there's a key there.
Absolutely. I love this. It's one of the things that I would ask people to do, because I think listening to this, because it can sound like, well, how do you do all this stuff? How do you just be proud and just live in your essence,
Get a boa.
What do I do, and one of the things that I did, especially when I was working in substance abuse treatment, where when someone, we got to the core of the issue of why someone was injecting drugs, and um, and one of the questions I would ask was, if you weren't doing that, what would you do to take care of yourself? Because they're doing they're injecting to be well, to feel better,
Or to feel nothing.
or to feel nothing. But even that is feeling better for some, right? And so, and I was able to have conversations with folks like, well, what do you love to do? Or what did you love to do that you're no longer doing now? And got people thinking, oh, I love photography, or I love writing, or I love gardening, but they weren't doing those things anymore. And to then prescribe that, well, try that. Get out in the garden, dig a little bit, buy a flower, plant it, buy a tomato plant, whatever, just to get them. Again, that's part of the peeling away of this hard shell of shame, guilt, whatever it is that's now their narrative, peeling it away by stepping into something that is a little bit more light. What brings you joy is what I'm asking. What brings you joy? What makes you happy? Do those things, because there's a shift chemically, spiritually, physically. Something happens, and then when you can live in that energy, whether you're gardening or not, you take that gardening energy with you.
Well, I think, right now what we see in the mental health world is there's this huge shift. I would love the medical world to go there too, right? And we're moving from deficit lensed thinking, right? What the problem is, and obsessing about the problem. And we're going to strength-based thinking about, like, when you didn't feel so much shame, what were you doing instead?
Exactly.
And reminding people about their own inner resources.
Yes.
I'd love for the medical world to get there.
Yeah.
And I think the mental health world is struggling to get there, but it is moving in that direction. And what I would argue, what I noticed in working with the shamans in Mongolia and even Peru, like in the conversation, I don't hear these shamans and medicine people obsessing about the problem. In fact, when there's healing work to be done, maybe I've talked about this on the podcast before, I've seen healers do some pretty extraordinary things. And I think the difference of the shaman who's able to facilitate some kind of healing in those dire situations is they're not committed to the immediate reality. They give themselves permission to step out. There is no such thing as reality. It's all perception and delusions, right? And so what happens when I give myself permission to explore the extraordinary, to be outside of the norm, right? And I think our retreats do that, right? Because people show up with a particular narrative and reality. And in the process of a very short communal process, people leave expanded.
Yes, absolutely.
To me, bringing it back to pride, if I was to embody pride, I would give myself absolute permission to not be held hostage to societal norms.
That's pride.
To me, that's pride.
Yeah.
And so, I'm going to wear my boa. Because who said I can't?
It's stepping into your light and living in that authenticity, and being proud. I mean, just being happy and content, and this is who I am. No, I don't need permission to do anything that I don't want to do. I can show up as the unique being that I am
Yeah.
in all spaces.
Yeah.
To me, that's pride. And so we get to celebrate that at a pride festival. But are you taking that celebration of self and all of your brothers and sisters and everyone in between, to the laundromat as well?
Yeah.
Is it everywhere else as well?
Yeah. I want to be in love with everyone. Right? And I definitely, when I go to Pride, whether they're young or old, big or muscly or trans or non-binary, I don't care. I want to embrace that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to celebrate your uniqueness
Mm-hmm.
while celebrating my own.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if we kind of decided to do a little series on Pride,
I think we should. Yeah. We've talked about one. We certainly, when we talked with Chad at the Pride Center, we talked about doing. I think we talked about on that episode, but a round table of bringing people together, and I know we did that. Talked about
like
that in
a town
episodes.
meeting.
Yeah, town meeting. Yes, and I think we're really moving in that direction where we, get some guys around a table and ask some of these questions that we're just kind of bantering about.
If we can just figure out the audio.
Yeah.
Because as you see, we have a very elaborate system here.
We'll figure it out.
But yeah, so we want to thank you for listening.
Yes.
We would love to have dialogue. I'm loving on TikTok. People are putting comments in the TikToks and Instagram. But we would really like to hear from you. And so any of our social media platforms, we check them on a regular basis. So we're on Instagram, mindfully_gay. We're on TikTok as the Mindfully Gay Guys. We're on Facebook, Mindfully Gay. We have a group there. Certainly ask if you'd like to join us. We'll get you on there. We have different events happening.
Yeah, I want to say something about the events because, if Pride is kind of the ultimate celebration, use these social events that we put together as kind of these mini celebrations. If maybe you're as you're continuing to kind of step into your essence and who you are, you get to kind of play with that and practice that when we go bowling or when you go hiking or you go roller skating or something, or you do a movie night. You can just come and be yourself. Just kind of, practice who you are.
How'd you do that?
I did a little shimmy there.
So unique.
You got to dance your way through life.
But we're certain. And if you have topics that you would like us to speak to, please put that in the comments as well.
Yeah.
But we want to thank you for joining us for this podcast. We look forward to your feedback. Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Mindfully Gay podcast. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. This way you won't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes where we continue to explore fascinating topics and share meaningful stories. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next episode.